Welcome to Divine Vintage February Wine Club. And so this month we're actually looking at two red wines. We have a Nebbiolo from Barolo and a Douro red wine from Portugal. So we've got an Italian and a Portuguese wine. And the theme for this month is hidden gems from iconic producers. So these are two producers that are over 100 years old that make some of the most celebrated wines in Europe. And they can run quite expensive. So we're talking up to $1,000 a bottle. But sometimes these producers also make wines with the same care, the same attention, but they go under the radar a little bit. They provide excellent value. You get a sneak peek into what the very best of their winery production is, but at a fraction of the price. So we thought for February, being Valentine's Day, a couple of red wines like red roses might be quite appropriate. So we've gone for two styles from two quite different extremes in Europe. We've got the northern Italian region of Piedmont, which is south of the city of Torino, and it looks over to the Dolomites behind it, and often it's snow-capped there. So we go from there, and then we go into Portugal. So we go to the western tip of Europe on the Iberian Peninsula, and we go inland from the city of Porto. So up the Douro River, you get to an area called the Douro Superior, which is really the best place for growing grapes, mostly for port wine. But this is using the same grapes, but making a still table wine, which is unfortified. Both of these regions I went to last year, and I just think they're two of my favorite areas in all of Europe for producing fabulous wines. So I'm going to start with the Italian wine. And there's a nice link here because back in January, you enjoyed the half bottle selection where we had 3 half bottles, 1/4 bottle from France, Spain, and Italy. And the Italian one was from Piedmont. It was the same grape, it was Nebbiolo, and it was the same designation. It's also a Langhe Nebbiolo. The one in January was from GD Vajra, who was the first organic producer back in 1971. And we had an expression of what they call a baby Barolo. So this is from the same grapes that will in the future make a wine that'll be Barolo, but it's younger vines, so it's probably less intense in terms of the flavor and concentration. This time, we've gone for one of the most iconic producers there, which is Conterno. So Conterno is a family. It started back in 1908, was when they first established, and Giacomo Conterno was the owner of the estate. When his sons came along in the late 1960s, in 1969, they had different winemaking philosophies, so they decided to split. So one of the brothers was called Aldo, which is this wine, Aldo Conterno, and the other son kept the name Giacomo Conterno. So you'll see the Conterno family around. They are related, but there's two different expressions. Now the Giacomo Conterno, not the Aldo, produces one of their most iconic Barolos you're ever likely to see, very highly collectible, and it's called Monfortino. Now this is running normally at between $900 and $1,200 a bottle. So it's very small production, single vineyard, fabulous iconic wine. Aldo Conterno also makes a top flagship expression, and it's known as the Gran Busia. So Gran Busia from Aldo Conterno is approximately $900 a bottle. So beyond most people's reach. It's a really special wine. I've tried it once, and it was terrific. His general Barolos, though, you can get for a little over $100, and then the single vineyard ones average around about $300 a bottle. Now that's a little bit over our budget for the wine club, but we really wanted to show you wines from this producer, and I met the son recently. He came to Santa Monica, he came to Divine Vintage, and I tasted through his whole range of wines, and I really, really like this one. It's called Il Favorite, which translates as the favorite. And the favorite is their favorite non-Barolo expression. It's known as Langhe Nebbiolo. So Langhe is sort of the greater area around Barolo, Barbaresco, Alba, these towns. And so while some of these grapes actually do come from Barolo zone itself, they've got the capacity through the Langhe appellation to get grapes from other parts just outside the zone. They blend them together and they come up with this exceptional expression of a Langhe Nebbiolo. I actually think that this is better than some people's Barolos. It also helps that it's from the very, very good or outstanding 20 to 21 vintage. Now this was quite hard to get. I managed to secure this last year with my supplier, and he called me a couple of weeks ago, and he was seeing if I was still keen on the 21 because they had the 22 available. But the 21 is such a great vintage. All these Michelin-starred restaurants in New York City are pouring this by the glass, and they wanted more. But luckily our relationship was strong enough, so we managed to get the allocation, get it over here, so we've got it for your wine club. And you'll notice the color of this one is really, it's quite pale. It looks almost like Pinot Noir. This is very typical of Nebbiolo. It's got this fabulous light, translucent color, sort of a light ruby. And then when you smell it, oh, it's just everything that makes Nebbiolo and Barolo and Piedmont so great. It's perfumed. It's got red fruits, it's got cherry, it's got a little bit of spice in there too. There's a depth to it, but there's a lightness and an elegance, which is very pretty. You're going to be really happy with this wine. It's fabulous. Because it's from northern Italy, it's got amazing acidity. The freshness factor that really lifts this bright red fruit. But then this delicate perfume that goes around. It's just really beautifully put together. I mean, this is a wine that is just starting to drink now. If you did happen to put it in your cellar, it could last another 10 years easily because of the strength of this fabulous 2021 vintage. This is a really nice way to look at. It's around about a $50 wine, so it's a wine that you can have a taste of what Aldo Contorno has got to say, but without spending hundreds and hundreds of dollars. This is a very, very good wine, so we're very happy with this. And if you compare the color of that to the Portuguese wine, so if I hold those side by side, you'll notice that the Portuguese wine is a lot deeper ruby. It's a lot more opaque. It's a little bit harder to see through. So this comes from a very warm place. So up the Douro Valley, it can get hot. I mean, they're into the hundreds during the growing season. It really is quite unforgiving. And when you're making port wine, which is the tradition of Ramos Pinto, then you want to have grapes that are very, not overripe, but fully ripe. There's all the concentration, all the skins are done. They send it right to the edge, and then it goes through the whole port making process where they'll actually fortify the wine. So partway through the fermentation of making port, they'll add a grape spirit, kind of like a brandy. And at 77% alcohol, this is added to the fermenting wine. So perhaps half the sugar's been consumed by the yeast. And by adding the fortification of alcohol, the alcohol is so high that it's above the tolerance that yeast can survive. So it kills the yeast. And that also retains sugar. So it'll raise the alcohol from, at this stage, with that much sugar, it's around about 8% alcohol. You're adding 70% alcohol, and it increases it up to around about 19 or 20% alcohol, but retains sugar of about 100 grams of sugar per liter, which is one of the sweetest wines that you can get. Now that's port production. Port's becoming less popular. I think the higher alcohol and also the sweetness is not really in vogue so much. So what a lot of the producers do, and it was really one of the leaders was Ramos Pinto, where they use the same vineyards that they use for port production in the same area up the river in the Douro Superior. And this is a wine called Duas Quintas. So Duas Quintas is two estates. So it's combining the Quintas dos Evamora and also the Quinta dos Poços Aires. So these are two separate estates. I went to both of them back in March. And this is when I first tried this wine. We had a whole tasting of all the ports, but we also tried all their table wines. And what I really liked about this is it reminded me of port. It's got the same rich baked, it's much more dark fruits, it's dark berry. So you're looking at like black plum, and then there's Mediterranean herb. There's a real power and concentration to this, but also a freshness. So what they do is they use the same grapes as for port, but they pick the grapes earlier. So by picking the grapes a little bit earlier than for port, they retain some of the freshness. The acidity levels are a little bit higher. The tannins aren't quite so full and evolved. So it ends up being a beautifully balanced, concentrated, deep, rich, yet fresh. So the main grapes that they use here are not exactly household names. Nebbiolo is way more known than the Portuguese varieties, and often Portuguese wines are a field blend. So it's a blend of different grapes. The main grape really for port production is one called Touriga Nacional. So this is a big part of the blend, along with another grape called Touriga Franca. There's also Trigo Roez, and Trigo Roez is known in Spain as Tempranillo. So that grows in these hot conditions. And then finally, you've got one called Tinta Barroca. So it's a blend of 4 different grapes, 4 grapes that usually go to make port, but 4 grapes that are harvested earlier, retaining the freshness, and then they go through the regular red wine fermentation. There's no fortification. It'll ferment all the sugar out to dryness. And this one weighs in at 13.5% alcohol. But I just love the contrast between the lightness and the pretty perfume style of the Nebbiolo to the rich, dark, smoky, way more muscular style of the Douro Tinto, Tinto being red in Portuguese. So when you try that, there's a juiciness about it, there's a richness, a concentration, there's this perfectly ripe dark fruit, and it's quite substantial tannin. The tannins are much more solid, they're much more structured. The tannins in the Nebbiolo, they're very fine, there's a firmness to them, but with the Douro, they're much more compact and broad and rich. So in terms of food combinations, I would say that with the Nebbiolo, the classic wines from up there, or the classic wines go with the classic food, and there's a lot of mushrooms, there's porcinis, there's also the home of the truffles. So Alba, the town nearby, has the annual White Truffle Festival. So if you're ever over that way in October and November, it goes for several weeks. You can go and visit all these different truffle excursions and feasts and hunts and everything else. And so anything sort of rich, like a risotto, there's things like some of the richer, hearty pastas can go beautifully with this wine. Also goes very well with cheeses. We're in Italy. Parmesan cheese is a great one to have with most wines. We look at the Portuguese wine, this is much richer. This is good sort of winter style. Because we're in February, then this could go with a hearty stew. It could go with a beef bourguignon. It can go with some of the local Portuguese cheeses, which could highly regarded as well. So this is the wine that I can imagine this one. You could be skiing, you could be by a fireplace on a cold winter's night, having a hearty stew after a hard day skiing, and you want a robust red, something that's really got some power and concentration to it. Whereas the Nebbiolo can go with a lot finer food. It can be more of a dinner party style. So I think this combination of fabulous wines from iconic producers, these really are hidden gems. These are wines that are good to know about, because once you know about them, then they offer tremendous value for producers who make their iconic wines with the same care and attention as they do for your 2 wine club wines this February. So enjoy this little look at Europe. 2 red wines is not something we do every month. There's a possibility we might be doing 2 white wines in the future. But generally we'll do a white and a red. There might be a rosé thrown in. But we just like to keep you interested in the wine club. And I think by having these 2 iconic European wines with a great deal of history, Ramos Pinto from 1880, Conterno from 1908 and then 1969, they show some real pedigree, established winemaking, people who really know what they're doing, and you're getting it at a wine club level. So enjoy February, and we'll see you in March. Cheers.